and welcome back to the PeakLife Show, sponsored by the Peak Day app by Couple to Couple League. I'm your host, Viva Crouse, and today we have a really exciting guest for you. Her name is Courtney Roach. You might know her on Instagram as @BecomingCourtney, and she's also a co-host of the Daily Nothings podcast. Today, Courtney and I chat all about their podcast, her business, and then also what it looks like to live our identity as Catholic Christians out in the world. And then, of course, we always circle back to fertility and the Peak Day app. And if you're a woman who is looking for a community with like-minded individuals, I really think this podcast is going to be for you. We chat all about what it's like to be in the social media world as Catholics who are also girly girls and just wanting to talk and entertain, but then also shifting our mindset to natural fertility, the gifts that God has given us, and how we can live that identity in Him each and every day. So if that sounds your speed, this one's for you. First off, I just want to welcome everyone to the PeakLife Show and our guest today, Miss Courtney Roach. We are so excited to have you.
Hello.
So everyone give a big silent round of applause.
Yes, please. It can be as loud as you want it to be. If you want to give a little hooty hoo in your car, go for it. Go for it. I'm so happy to be here.
We're so happy to have you. So for our audience that doesn't know of you or your podcast or your kind of new mission that you're entering into, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Courtney Roach. I live in Colorado. I'm 30 years old, single, and truly pursuing my dreams. I just left the corporate world about 2.5 weeks ago now. It's very new, and I was working in the digital marketing space, and I absolutely loved my job, but I just really felt called to go much more into podcasting, which is what I've been doing now for almost 4 years. I am the co-host of a podcast called the Daily Nothings podcast. I host it with my best friend Megan, and we started it back in 2022. And it is truly just all about the little decisions of every single day that we make that our world tells us doesn't mean anything or that there's no real purpose to it. But actually, when we kind of get into that apathetic mentality, that transforms who we become. So we don't want to lean into that nothingness mentality. We want to lean into the fact that everything amounts to eternity. And that is what we are there to chat through. So it's just a really girly, fun, chatty podcast that is a great replacement. We always say that for the girls that really like to listen to episodes from The Toast or Call Her Daddy or any of those really like big pop culture podcasts, we want this to be a replacement for that. That's just much more rooted in Catholic identity, but still very, very fun and chatty and girly and just a fun, easy listening entertainment podcast. So I do that, and then I also run an account called Becoming Courtney on Instagram, and I just started my own social media consulting company called Becoming, and so I now am working with small brands to help them learn how to do social media well and to grow their social media platforms. So that is my deal. A long-winded response, but that is my new digs, and that's a little bit about me.
Everyone can now give a big hooty hoo in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of wild that you and Megan, your co-host, have been doing the Daily Nothings for about 4 years now.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I know about a year ago you guys just took a group of women to Italy on a pilgrimage, and it's been kind of one of my really good friends went on that with y'all. You guys are here a year later. God has brought something completely new into your life with your business and everything, but I love the theme of the daily nothings, just that those very small things have a huge impact in our holiness and in our road to sainthood. What was it that inspired that particular theme for you guys?
Totally. We were kind of going back and forth for a while. It's actually quite funny. It was Megan's idea to start the Daily Nothings podcast, and I genuinely was like, Megan, my life was so disordered back when she was really pushing me to start the podcast. I was like, I do not have the capacity to take something like this on, and I definitely don't have the capacity to do it as well as I want it to do, so I'm just not going to do it. And she fought me on it, and I'm so glad she did, because back in July of, I don't know what year it would have been, but it was when I turned 27, so almost 3 years ago, I got a podcast mic for my birthday from her, and she was like, you're doing the podcast, we're making it happen. And it really at first started because she loved listening to my voice memos that I sent her. And she was just like, she's always rooted me on so much. And she basically said, Courtney, your voice memos are so entertaining. I just really think that girls would love to hear the stories that you tell every day that you voice memo me. And I basically was just like, I'm not doing a podcast about voice memos. And so we really started to brainstorm and pray through it. And it was kind of like fresh still within the COVID season of life, if you will. Yeah. And during COVID, I came across a reflection by St. Therese of Lisieux that was all about how basically she brings these petals of nothingness to God the Father, and he takes these flower petals of nothingness that she says don't mean anything, and they're just crumpled and ugly, but it's all that she has to give. And so she brings them to the Father as he's sitting on his throne, and he is delighted to receive these petals of nothingness from Therese, and then he takes them and he turns them into a beautiful flower and gives them back to her as a gift from him. And I just loved that imagery so much. I have a deep devotion to St. Therese of Lisieux, and it just was so beautiful of like, yeah, we have all these moments that we view as just crumpled up, nasty little petals that probably are trash. But if we were to offer them back to God and give them to him, then he can take them and transform them and give them purpose and make them beautiful and unique and a specific gift that only he can make and give them back to us. And so, yeah, I just kind of wrestled with that and was telling Megan about how much that really spoke to me. And we just kind of, prayed through titles for a while. And we were like, what about the daily nothings? And it can be all of those little moments. Truly, we say in our intro, it's like every daily sip, bite, song, walk, prayer, chat, and snooze. Like, think of every single thing that you do every day that's like, oh, that doesn't mean anything. It's fine if I just snooze. It's fine if I just, I don't know, get a really crappy dinner or wear really immodest dress out with the girls or listen to this song or watch this movie. And in the moment, it's so easy to say, oh, yeah, it really doesn't matter. But if you do that over and over and over and over again, it transforms who you become. And before you know it, you're someone that you don't want to be. And so how can we make it a really fun, positive conversation of recognition like, hey, this is actually transforming your soul. And so let's choose really good things together and talk about it as women because we love a gab. And let's choose greatness and let's live with an eternal mindset, you know? And so that's what started it. And we were just reflecting a lot on the Daily Nothings because I just got back last night from a bit of a Daily Nothings like retreat, offsite, reset trip that we took to California. Mm-hmm. And Megan and I were chatting a lot about it, and we were like, yeah, this podcast is meant to be great entertainment for women because I think that it's so hard to find entertainment that you can trust that you know is rooted in good Catholic creators, right? Yeah. And so we don't go on the podcast and just talk about theology and deep brooding topics every single week. One, because we are not well educated enough to do that kind of teaching. But we just we want it to be a fun source of entertainment that you can go to and you're not going to have to vet it. You're not going to have to listen through and be like, oh, is it okay that I'm listening to this? Is it okay that my teenage kids are listening to this? Is it okay that, if you're in a season of conversion and, you're in a bit more of a delicate state, I remember thinking about all of the media that I was just, constantly vetting when I was going through a big conversion, when I was becoming Catholic. I was always like, is this okay? Is this all right? And it's no, this is just a good, trusted podcast that's good entertainment that will transform the way that you think over time because, it's all rooted in holiness and the pursuit of sainthood. So
that's so beautiful. And I love what you said. Just, we love a good gab. As women, we love a gab. We thrive on community and interaction and being able to share our hearts and our stories with each other and laughing with each other, crying with each other. And so the fact that you and Megan have created such a safe place for the girly girls to land.
Yes.
And to say,
exactly.
This is kind of our slice of the pie in this world.
Yeah. But it's just kind of become so much more than I thought it could ever be. And it's been really cool to see.
That's such a gift, and honestly, what better person to have on our PeakLife Show because our mission, our goal isn't just fertility awareness and recognizing the gifts that God has given us as men and women in our fertility, and what a beautiful gift that is, but also to encourage people to live their fullest lives, to live their healthiest, holiest lives for the sake of becoming who He created us to be, to live with true fullness, their peak life, so to say, right? So the fact that you ladies, that really is such a heart of your mission.
Totally. I love your name so much, by the way. Like, that is a genius podcast title, both considering the fertility aspect of it, but also the overarching purpose. I just love good marketing, and you chose a really great title, so I just want to shout that out for a second.
Thank you. Good job, team. Good job, guys.
Great work.
So what role do you see female friendships playing in your road to holiness, either personally or in what you've seen as you guys have kind of built this community for other women?
Totally. That's a great question. We were just chatting through this yesterday. Not yesterday, 2 days ago. It feels like Monday today. It's not. It's Tuesday. On Sunday, we were chatting through it, and it's really interesting in this whole transition of me taking on podcasting and my new business becoming full-time. It has been such a, I don't really like the word test, but I guess challenge with the Holy Spirit of how much am I still going to rely on God? Because I think that when you have these big goals and you've got great drive and you want to do all these big things with your life, you have a lot to do practically. Like, life takes a lot of effort, and we're very busy. And so it is so easy in the mundane and in the busy to just have a long to-do list of all the things that you specifically need to get done. And before you know it, even with working nonstop, you're doing your job, you're doing laundry, you're taking care of yourself, you're working out, you're hydrating, you're catching up with family, whatever. It is so insanely easy to put the Lord on the back burner. And so Megan and I were chatting on Sunday. It was Pentecost Sunday. And we really went into Mass with this mentality of like, okay, what is the main purpose of the Daily Nothings? And why are we here? And it was the end of our little retreat getaway, and we were just praying about it. And Megan walked away with that word entertainment of, we are really here for entertainment. And I walked away with evangelization and just how important it is for us to really be pursuing holiness with everything that we have, because so many women look up to other women, especially online, especially in social media. And before you know it, whether you want to or not, you're someone's role model. And so how are you going to be encouraging someone to live their life? And so it was really beautiful because both of those words, evangelization and entertainment, are exactly true together. And it's cool that the Lord put both of those on our hearts. But yeah, with Megan and I's friendship, I was just like, we have to, no matter what, be putting our prayer first in all of this. And it sounds so cliche and obvious and duh or whatever, but truly, like, it is so essential that we make the Lord our everything in everything that we do. And it is so easy to let that go. And we kind of had a gut check of like, how much are we really making the Lord our top priority? Because it's been a task-heavy season. I've started my own business. I've been going off on my own. My routine is totally thrown off. I have such a different like flow of operations that I'm still figuring out. I don't have to cook the way that I used to cook. I can cook at home now. I don't have to cook in large batches. Everything is different, and it's like I'm relearning my day to day. And with that, it is crazy how much Satan is like, by the way, ignore him. He doesn't matter. It's no big deal. And so, yeah, Megan and I were chatting, and I was just like, I need accountability like no other. I need you to constantly be asking me, hey, how's prayer going? Did you pray today? What's prayer looking like? When can you make it to daily mass this week? And it's, I think, so essential to find friendships that you can talk to about these things and not receive that kind of feedback or accountability as judgmental. Like, she's not going to be reaching out in this, like, did you make it to daily mass today? Have you prayed, you piece of crap? Like, she's not going to, like, she's not ripping me apart. So you need to find good friendships where, like, one, you can ask for accountability, and two, when you receive that accountability, receive it with grace and humility and honesty, because that is how you grow, and that is how you become a saint. Saints come in twos. It's all over the place. And so between her and then my other best friend, McLean, who you guys might know as a Catholic Convo on Instagram, we just have very, very organic, honest feedback for one another. And I find myself, even when I'm posting or when I'm creating something, it's like, what would my friends think of this? Because that is my instant relationship. And then I know that they are also pursuing the Lord. And so then it's like, okay, how would the Lord think of this? How would Mary think of this? How would my priest friends think of this? And it just keeps me accountable in my actions and in my creating and everything, which is just so vital in the pursuit of holiness. It really is, to have that accountability. So I hope that makes sense. My main point there is truly just like, you have to be willing to receive critical feedback, and it's not easy, but it's good.
Right. Yeah. And to also, I think sometimes on the flip side of the coin, it's really hard to be the one to give that accountability oftentimes. Like, even if a friend asked, it's like, okay, you asked me to keep you accountable, but I noticed this. Is it going to hurt your feelings if I say that? And being willing to put yourself out there and say, hey, you kept talking about this thing. You keep not doing it. Is everything okay?
Right.
And if it's not, let's have coffee and let's talk.
Right. Right.
You know?
Exactly.
But it can be scary to
it's so scary.
Receive that, but then also be the one to point it out.
Completely.
And I actually just listened to your guys' most recent podcast episode.
Love. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, which they just kind of went over a lot of what Courtney has kind of said already, but kind of dove into a bit more about why the Daily Nothings. How did this come about? What is their purpose? What are they striving for in their mission as entertainment, women in the entertainment industry? Let's be honest, you know?
Yeah, totally.
And so for those of you that are like, oh my gosh, I'm already really loving chatting with Courtney on this, go ahead and start by listening to that most recent episode. I think it's called Are You Listening?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Are you listening?
It gives the audience such a good taste for you and Megan, your friendship, and just your guys' goal and mission, walking in this road to sainthood together through entertainment and being willing to put yourselves out there to create that sense of larger community in the social stratosphere.
Yeah, you're so sweet. Thank you for plugging that. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it is a
course.
great heartbeat episode for sure.
It is. So in line with that, as someone that is incredibly immersed in the digital stratosphere, especially now that you are kind of breaking the mold that you've had for yourself, and you're putting yourself out there now as a consultant, a branding consultant. Where do you see that tension of creating beauty and these brands for yourself and kind of listening to the gifts God gave you and putting yourself out there while also teetering the line about how social media really shapes women's understanding of themselves and worth and understanding of the church? Does that question kind of make sense?
Totally. Yeah. I think, you're saying that with social media transforms the way that women think. And so how do I feel being in that space? We can bring goodness to people in their screens, because no matter what, people go on social media every single day. That is, I always say, the most amazing practicing Catholic that goes to Mass every single day. If they have social media, they're also on their phone every single day. And so how can you bring Jesus to them and create beautiful digital art that reminds them of why they're going about their day as a Catholic? Why are they doing anything for the Lord? And so with becoming my social media consulting business, I am really just wanting to help other, both Catholic and non-Catholic businesses that I believe are good businesses, create well so that they don't just get brushed under the rug and the algorithm just ignores them. Because if we had more and more and more incredible Catholic businesses and brands and influencers continuing to infiltrate this dark space that is social media, it will get brighter. I firmly believe that, because the Catholic Church is trending, literally, right now. And the youth of America, of the world, it's all becoming more and more Catholic, and it's very exciting. And what if nobody was posting about it? What if nobody knew that? Like, those things are transforming souls. I know it, because when I became Catholic, the first thing that I did when I was introduced to a Focus missionary was went to Focus Catholic's Instagram my freshman year of college. And I was like, oh, okay, they actually are kind of cool. I can hang out with these people. Because I was just a judgmental sorority girl who was a classic American Protestant that was just like, in God we trust, right?
Yeah.
And then I saw their social media and I was like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. Okay, yeah, I'll hang out with these people. And it's just like, yeah, now I speak on behalf of the church. Like, that's crazy. And so digital evangelization is truly so essential, and I believe in it so much. But I'm also not ever going to be as just, what's the word, basically uneducated to say that it's a good place to be. Like, social media is a wildly wild, crazy place.
It's a place where you are constantly suiting up your battle armor.
Exactly.
And
you
going
can't go in unarmed.
You know what comes to mind is those, are they Dominican sisters? They're the podcast nuns?
They're viral.
And how all of these people on my For You page who are absolutely not religious.
Correct.
Just commenting on their stuff and like doing their own little skits as them and truly loving on them, being like, oh my gosh, I want what they have. And people are in the comments being like, that's Jesus, friend, let's go, you know?
Yes, it's insane. I have actual chills right now thinking about it. And it's like, think if those religious sisters, those Dominicans were just like, no, we're not doing this.
It's not us.
Like, so many things are Catholic and trending and beautiful and sparking curiosity. And yeah, we're meeting people where they are at. And that's huge. Yeah, it's just huge.
So in line with what is currently kind of trending in the world and what maybe hasn't been trending before, as you know, like this is this PeakLife Show. We're sponsored by the Peak Day app. And so something you said in that last bit caught my ear of just, I'm in this part of my cycle right now. So of course my brain is just dogging on me. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about the topic of natural fertility, because what a gift it is to be able to recognize last night, I'm in this part of my cycle. I'm not thinking totally clearly. So what are the steps I have to take to protect my emotional capacity to deal with this? So what has been your journey, especially coming from a Protestant background, into starting to track your cycle naturally? What has that journey been like for you?
Totally. For the longest time, I did not care to track my cycle. And even when I was a brand new Catholic, I was just like, okay, well, that will be something that I have to get to when I'm married. But I am not even in a serious dating relationship, and I'm still quite single. And so it's like, why do I need to fuss with that? That's just an extra thing for me to do. And as I always say, life, being alive, is a very busy task to keep up with. And so, I didn't start actually tracking my cycle until I went through the Made Good program with the Catholic nutritionist, which is how I know of you. So that was what started me actually truly tracking my cycle. Before then, I just did the classic period app tracker, first day, start, and then when it was the last day, I would log when it was my last day of my period, and then I would just move on with life and kind of go about it blindly and just be like, oh, there's my period. Okay, gotta go put it in the app. Simply so I have an idea of when my period's gonna come for life purposes of just
my
knowing
next
when
beach
it's
vacation.
Coming.
Yeah.
Exactly. I need to know what to pack. And so my doctor is a very Catholic doctor, and she was like, can I ask you a few questions? I think that this could be more of a hormonal thing. And so she went through and asked me a few questions and basically was like, okay, I can't officially diagnose this to you, but I'm pretty certain that you have PMDD, which is premenstrual depressive dysmorphia. And I was like, okay, fantastic. This just sounds like an extra snazzy PMS, but that's just the way that it is, right? Like, you can't do anything about that.
Right.
And I've never had really bad periods. It's always just been a lot of, like, very emo leading up to my period. And so she was like, we would need to do a hormone panel to confirm it and just, like, get all of your levels on different things. So I finally decided to just be a big girl and go through it. And I just want to give a shout out to Bella Health and Wellness in Colorado, because a lot of my friends work there and they know that I am the biggest needle phobe ever. And so for my hormone panel, every single time I went in, they dimmed the lights. They had a wet rag to lay over my eyes. We played Taylor Swift out loud. They talked to me through it. They had snacks and tea ready for me for the times that I had to fast so that I could have it right afterwards so I wouldn't drop. Like, they just helped me get through it. You don't have to go to a LabCorp. Some people might, but if you can find a doctor, if you are like me, that will be so amazing like they were, it made it so much more doable. Like, it just made it less scary, and I'm so grateful that they cared for me enough to do that. But yeah, basically after all my labs came back, it was confirmed that, thanks be to God, I didn't have PCOS and I did have PMDD. Wow. And with that, basically they just showed me different charts of, like, how much my progesterone drops at certain points in my cycle. And so then they implemented that with taking progesterone post peak day 3. And because of all of that, I then was very much forced into tracking my cycle, because I had to know when my peak day was, so that then I could document that and then take progesterone 3 days after that peak day. And it has just, like, shown me how incredibly blessed I am to have an insanely regular cycle. I have a cycle of 28 to 29 days. I have a very normal ovulation window. I can take progesterone for 10 days, and then I have my periods start almost immediately after that. And now I don't even notice when I'm about, like, my mood is very, very stable. It was so dark, and all I wanted was to be sad, and I viewed it as like I'm just a melancholic sweetheart. I like to be emo and whatever. And it's like, I do like those things because I find myself to be an artist and I like to be moody, but it's not to that extent. Like, this is disordered.
Right.
And so, now I track my cycle, and it was like, I'm on my period right now, and I know logically where I am in my period, and I know that on day 2 of my period, I can just be a little bit more insecure, and I can be a little bit more grumpy and fussy and not want to talk to people. And so I just, like, know that, and I know where we're headed, and it's just not as mysterious and flailing, like, oh, well, I just have to deal with these emotions. Like, I knew what I needed to do, and it was get off social media and take care of myself, go to bed. I was tired, get a good night's rest, and start new. And I learned so much, through all of those different instances.
But I think it's such a gift to hear that, because oftentimes we hear, especially for single women that are tracking NFP, or, they're tracking their cycles fully, not just their period, it's because of some thyroid disorders, PCOS, endometriosis. And so oftentimes I feel like people that aren't using it to postpone or achieve pregnancy are like, well, if I don't have those things, I don't really need to be doing it. But you have no idea what's going on underneath the surface that could be affecting you in other areas of your life, just because it doesn't look like some big thing on paper in big bold red lettering. It's like, well, actually tons of women deal with PMDD.
Tons.
And it's not fun, and it's nice to know that sometimes we just need a little bit of sleep and progesterone, girls. And
literally, that's it. Like, it is crazy, and you think it's no big deal because it's like, oh, well, it's just a mood swing. And it's like, no, it's a very, very drastic mood swing. And on top of that, if you have a super regular cycle like me, not to flip my own hair, it comes around so quick.
Often.
Like, I have a 29-day cycle. I'm going to be feeling that way all the time. And you tell yourself, oh, it's just a few days before. But, like, there are some cycles that I've really noticed it, even on progesterone. And I'm so grateful for progesterone, because I'm like, this is a full week leading up to my period. I can't imagine how I would feel if I wasn't taking progesterone, because I'm feeling it with taking progesterone. And I know logically what to do because of this diagnosis. But it would have been like really 2 weeks of the month between my period and my PMDD. I'm like, yeah, I can't even imagine just going about it in oblivion. And so I'm really glad I was brave and just dealt with the blood test, because it changes everything about my day to day.
Was this fertility awareness, your cycle, tracking all of that, something that you were introduced to early on in your conversion, or was it something that was like, okay, it was, and yes. I know, because you kind of said before, I guess, like, it just wasn't something that I kind of was wanted to do. Yeah. It's like for married people, right? Yeah. So now that you've had this very recent experience, does that change your view on what it might have been like if you had been introduced to this in high school? If you had been introduced to this early on in your early 20s of, okay, you're hormonally already going through all these shifts and changes. Yeah. And to have a doctor kind of walk with you as a young woman saying like, okay, this isn't just because you're crazy. This isn't because of this. It's because this is how your body is currently working. And here are the things we can do to make sure it's working even better in your favor.
Yeah, totally. Oh, that would have been transformative for me, because I had such an interesting upbringing in any education with hormones. My mother is truly the best. I love her to absolute bits, and she did what every other mom was doing at that time. She showed me the American Girl doll book, The Care and Keeping of You. If you're familiar, please never show this to your children. It was just the thing to do in the 90s.
Take note. Got it?
Yeah. The Care and Keeping of You. If you were an American Girl doll household, this was the book. And all of my friends also got it in middle school. And it was just like, it taught you about hormones. It taught you how to use a tampon. It taught you like an elegant place to store your pads and tampons as a young woman, and like what underwear to wear at different seasons of life and all of these things. And she like walked through that book with me. And then I went to a private Christian school, and it was scandalous to have any type of a sex talk at my school. And so they didn't do anything with that. I don't know. It's so much bigger than fertility. It's not about knowing whether or not I'm going to be able to have kids. There's no way to perfectly know that. But it's like, this is part of being a put together young woman at 30. Like, you just take care of yourself and you just get your stuff checked out, and the mental relief, girls. It's just so much better that way. I can't encourage it enough.
Well, it's also part of taking care of the body that God gave us.
Correct.
Right? And and allowing ourselves to say, like, this is a very dignified thing to do. And God has given us the tools in the community now of people to help us discover the root cause, to dive in so that we can really take a bit more charge of our health. And so one of my last questions for you is kind of this combination of your work in the digital marketing atmosphere, social media, and cycle tracking. And we're seeing such a big push on social media of, cycle tracking, and these influencers being like, well, now I'm using this monitor, and now I'm doing this app and these things. What is your perspective on a lot of these secular apps kind of being pushed into this atmosphere?
Totally. This is a really great question. So I have an Aura ring, and I love my Aura ring. Cheers. And I track very practically the days of my period in my Aura ring, because I just like to have it all in one place. And so I am such a firm believer of I love to be posh and extra and do all of the new fads, and I just bought a pair of jelly shoes and I feel so cool and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, it just doesn't need to be overcomplicated, and you just don't need all of the bells and whistles. At the end of the day, the basics are the best. It's the same with so many things. With dance, ballet is the fundamental. In cooking, all you really need is the basics of French cooking. When it comes to fashion, you need good staples. The staples are the goodies. And so when it comes to tracking, I'm not at the point where I'm using Creighton or doing a lot of paperwork and things like that. But I know the basics of knowing how to analyze cervical mucus. I know how to analyze things with an LH strip. And I know how to track what day I start my cycle, and those 3 things at my state of life of being 30 with PMDD and single, I need to know those basics, and that's it.
No, that is actually very helpful and allows us to really plug our app too, right? Because
seriously,
obviously we have a lot of competitors out there, but with the Peak Day app, there is a free version. The premium version you can connect your Oura Ring to. So now that I'm finally not pregnant or super early postpartum and I have my cycle back, I'm finally able to use those features. But the great thing about it too is that it's not going to ask you when you masturbated. It's not going to.
God.
You can. There's a coitus button for those of us that are married and are trying to plan our pregnancies. But for teenagers or single women that want to use the app, you can go to settings and toggle that off. It doesn't have to show up there for you.
That's so cool. Yeah.
You can track your monitor if you're using like a Mira or a Clear Blue monitor for your highs, your lows, your peaks. You can track your cervical mucus, your mood, your energy, your weight. And then if the day comes, where you do need to show these charts to a doctor, it's going to generate all your past cycles for you, and you can send them in a PDF.
That is so cool.
Yes.
I didn't know about this app until I came on as a guest, and I am like, this is perfect, because that's my thing. I love having it all in one place.
And for those of you listening that haven't known about it or tried it yet, right, it's because we are relatively new, just a few years old, but that's our mission too, is to help Catholics and Christians of the world understand that if this is important to you, your female fertility for yourself, your daughters, your granddaughters, that there is a space for you that is also going to align with your moral compass.
Yeah.
And that's really our mission, is to make it easier and more seamless to have your data in one place that's not going to be sold. We're not going to have ads on it, and we're not going to ask you all these questions that have subliminal messaging, which ties back to the beginning of our conversation, that
seriously,
all the daily little nothings that we think are absolutely nothing take root in our brain and in our heart. So that was the perfect wrap up to our episode today. And so, Courtney, I would love for you to leave our audience off. For anyone watching today, any advice that you have on just becoming the woman God's calling them to be?
I love that. I think that the biggest thing I would say is just that you're, like, who you are at the core is not wrong. Like, who you are is beautiful and good, and the Lord created you with so much delight. And I think that when we watch so much media, social media, TV, anything, we start to believe that we need to become something specific to be loved, and that we need to work towards becoming something different than who we are. And that is just not true, and that will never lead to peace, and you will feel constantly unsatisfied with your life trying to be something that you're not. And so just simply spend as much time as you possibly can with your Creator. And as He is guiding your heart, let yourself be fully alive with Him. Like, don't hold back. I think that temptation to be something that you're not is so real, especially in the age of like plastic surgery and just like, truly becoming a clone of what the internet says is perfect and beautiful. You just don't need to be that. You just need to be yourself. And so just see what the Lord has in store for you and pursue it with everything you have.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with me, with our audience.
Of course.
And thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to come on here today and share your podcast, your business, your mission. For those of you that are interested in all things Courtney or the Daily Nothings, we'll make sure to link all of her things for you guys in the show notes. We'll tag her in socials when this episode airs. But otherwise, thank you so much for being here today. And it was a joy and honor to be able to chit-chat with you. And if you're listening to this from your office, your car, on a walk, go ahead and give us a hootie hoo and a loud clap.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been such a delight.